the funnel. I smuggle, I siphon, I pilfer, I funnel from the source, the greatest resource of all. Truth and freedom. I beat them at their own game. A master chess player on the checkerboard of life. I retired their monopoly, defeated the satanic duopoly. Now it's only love you can cop from me. As sovereignty and empowerment regains its rightful place as the law of the land, the sands of the hourglass slip through my hand. When I remember that I can remember who I truly am, the false light dims as the sun breaks through. The sun resurrects my consciousness anew. I am the embodiment of all that is true. So I bid adieu to the masses and welcome the few, who commune with me under the light of the new moon. Fully taking in the very real and radiant light, I finally saw the true, authentic beauty of freedom under natural law. Understand the code, the principles, the truth, unfiltered and raw. I also like to call it God's blueprint, aka natural law.
Well, bonjour there. This is Derek Bartoluccelli. I'm so happy to have Cynthia Mitchell from Affirm Life Daily back in the house once again. And for those that are not familiar, for all my Freedom Under Natural Law community folks, where we're trying to ignite hearts and minds for this next upcoming conference coming up, Cynthia is quite a powerhouse. She has her great podcast and her website where she can offer some really great, valuable services. And she's quite the wordsmith in many different ways. And her podcast has featured the likes of Will Keller, Logan Hart, and myself, Chris Jansen, Corey Angelate, who's also going to be featured. So she just was with Jerry Capizzuto of Soundpath. So yeah, I love the fact of this cross-pollination, a little crosstalk as well, or sorry, Time Spider with Sarah Cross now. So yeah, how you doing, Cynthia? So glad to see you.
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me and for that beautiful introduction.
Oh, thanks.
Touched my heart.
Oh yeah. So how you doing? What are you up to these days? And kind of, if you want to give a brief nutshell type of thing for those that aren't quite familiar with your works and all that, please.
Absolutely. So I'm Cynthia Mitchell. I'm host of the Natural Law Podcast on Affirm Life Daily. You can visit affirmlifedaily.com for tons of information. You can see all previous podcasts. You can check out poetry. You can check out affirmations. You can have a wonderful resources page so you can get books, videos, documentaries, just trying to really educate people on natural law in all the different ways, because everyone, kind of gleans information and process information differently. So I would like to put it out there, like in all the ways, affirmations, poetry, to podcasts, to books, all the things, because as we shift paradigms, we need, as many people as we can on board. And I think this paradigm shift cannot truly happen in a way that will be long-term or sustainable if people do not understand, overstand natural law. That is the basis for everything. So it's very important and dear to my heart. So I am out here doing this work and I love it. It's very fulfilling. I love it. And the community that I found, oh my gosh, the wonderful people like you that I have come into contact with and become friends with and built relationships with. It's beautiful.
But in real life, you're keeping it farm fresh and all that good stuff.
Oh, collectively sustainable, baby.
Yeah.
I have a huge garden. I do grow my own food, not everything, but what I don't grow myself, I try to get from local farmers. Like I'll go to the farmer's market or I will drive to local farms in my area and try to get everything from, someone that's grown it locally or other members in this community, Collectively Sustainable, which you can visit them at collectivelysustainable.org. If you want to start growing your own food, this is a great launching pad. We are helping to build hyper local food systems, not just across Georgia, which is where I am, across the world. So that is the mission. That is the goal, so that we can be healthy and free.
Hell yeah. And that's, along the lines of what your podcast is about, obviously, delving into the esoteric and exoteric information and situation that we're all placed in, and trying to air out some of that frustration and whatever, but also trying to drive home, what are solutions? How can we empower ourselves and this and that? So I love, you always have, some proper morals to the story, if you will, and, goals you're trying to see about in your podcast. I love the format that you have, having like Soul Expression that's on. He puts out his own little mini presentations on your show sometimes, and that's just like cool to see you collaborating with a lot of cool cats.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. He's actually going to be on a podcast upcoming, a part 2 to the True Care podcast we had did. So we're doing a part 2 to that. And this is all about true care, because true care is action. It's action based. What are you actually doing in the world that shows that you care about yourself and about humanity and about nature? And food is a big part of that. It's a big part of that.
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about, gas stations, and there was like, you got to fuel up and this and that, and thinking about like, what do they have in gas stations? It's like kind of like the human food. Oh, got to fuel up on, your caffeinated drinks and the Red Bulls and your whatever the bullshit, and like, this watered down sock juice coffee that they have sometimes. Sometimes they got some decent stuff, I'm not going to be some French coffee elitist over here, but
I'm sure it's a different level of coffee there.
Yeah, but it's like, what are people really consuming to really fuel themselves? Like, what about juicing and things like that, and like proper organic food, and not just be a simple foodie of just for the looks and like taste, but actually the nutrition, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. The nutrition levels in food that you grow yourself and food that you get from a store that probably shipped it from across the world is usually dramatically different. And you also, the freshness, because the freshness is going to be dramatically different, and the nutrients decline as fresh food ages. So all these things matter. And then also, you just don't know what they're doing to your food. I mean, we've all heard now that they're trying to put vaccines in a lot of the fresh produce, and think you can't control that if you don't know where it came from. And if you're waiting on them to tell you, to disclose, good luck with that. Good luck with that. So building these communities where, we're growing food, not just individually, but together. So that way Derek, you don't have to grow everything. I can grow some of the stuff. Then, Susan can grow some of the stuff, and then George can grow some of the stuff. And then by the time, we have our little community, we have everything that we need, and we just share it amongst each other. So that's really the goal of this, is to build communities around self-sufficiency, so that we're not, right now, we have food access, but we are not food sovereign. Because if they shut that access down, then what? And you have no idea how to grow food. You don't have any seeds. You don't have any proper soil. What do you do? Do you have a plan for that when that happens? Not if that happens, when that happens.
Damn. Yeah, right. And, it's funny how people think this is some kind of new concept, as if, like bartering and sharing food, and like neighbors, being more, specialized in certain crops or whatever, and yada yada, and then like you get this little round robin of sharing, whatever, right? Exchanging, and my friend has this going on where I have some of my affairs, or clothes and whatever. It's my mini storage unit. In this place in France, and he lives in this little hamlet where they have their lot of land. It used to be, an apple orchard, and they would like make cider in this one second, and all this other stuff, and like they would have that, and they would share stuff with neighbors, and like they'd have a good old merry-go-round of it's not going to be the end of all means. Like no one's growing rice out there, or all these other staple foods, but still, it's like something that can really reconnect people to the land and each other as well, and build more trust and solidarity and resilience, or reliance, dependent, not like codependent, in a negative sense, but some kind of dependence where we're not depending on the shitstones.
Yeah, interdependent on each other.
Yeah. And that's great. Y'all are, encouraging that more and more, whether it just be on your individual level and efforts, going from farm to farmers markets, or with the farm fresh and all that stuff. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad you brought up community because that's what it's all about. When you do things like this, you're building community, like real bonds, real relationships, real care amongst each other. And that's going to be vital as we move forward into building a new paradigm, like having real, true community that we can rely on, that we can trust, that everyone understands natural law, so we respect each other's freedom and privacy and right to make your own decisions. So it's a beautiful thing. It's really just given me so much hope, even just being a part of Collectively Sustainable and learning so much more about gardening and expanding my own garden. And, like I said, doing barters and, oh, I got this, whatever I grew. And then, oh, you're going to give me some of your sea moss gel that you made, or just, we barter products that we make, we barter food that we grow. There's also a related platform, farmfresh247.com, which anyone can go on and, you can sell, barter, or give away food that you grow, or maybe you got some extra chickens at your house, or you just whatever that maybe you have some trees that you sprouted that you wanna, some fruit trees that you want to sell. Maybe you bake fresh bread. So all the things is like we're sharing as a community, and it's just really beautiful to be a part of. It's beautiful to see it grow and flourish, and more people are joining every day, and it's yeah, it just fills my heart. It really fills my heart. And like I said, gives me so much hope because there's so much negative stuff coming at us constantly. And you can start to feel discouraged, to say the least. So this is very encouraging when you see it being done real time, because people are like, oh, that's not really feasible. You can't really do that. People can be so negative and their imaginations are so shut down. They're just thinking it's the system's way or it can't happen. If the government didn't say it could happen, how could it possibly happen? If they didn't say on the news that that's possible, how could that possibly be? That's the way that a lot of people think. If it's not co-signed by some authority, they think it can't be real. And I'm here to show people it's not only can be real, it is real. We're already doing it.
Yeah. And what does this, victimize, poverty mentality or like disempowered, like we the people supposed to be bigger and better than the government, and the government is made up of people and all this stuff. We never needed the government's fucking permission to do a goddamn motherfucking thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all that aside, like no holds barred, keep growing, overgrow the government, overthrow and whatever the hell, yo. And
Exactly.
yeah, I love how people can see that empowerment in just going to a farmer's market even once a month type of thing, and getting that reminder of, oh, there are people on ground earth level doing proper shit. Their stuff doesn't come from a laboratory or a factory or whatever the fuck. These people are, green thumbing it till, to the bone type of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how, it seems like, what you got going on over there, it is really along the lines of this conference title of Igniting Hearts and Minds towards, more of that good old divine, and being naturally inclined to be aligned to natural law and shit like that. And I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned it, and it was also in context, like in regards to like morality and stuff, but what's your kind of like elevator pitch of what natural law is, in a sense?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good question. So for me, when I try to give like the short version, which it can be hard sometimes, but just the short version really is very simplistic in and of itself. You're basically respecting the rights and freedom of others. So you're able to take care of yourself and live and function, with a community of other people or within humanity without stealing from another or infringing on their rights. And when we talk about stealing, we're talking about stealing, harming people, stealing their, physical well-being, killing people, stealing their life, stealing their property, stealing sexual contact. No theft of any kind. So you're honoring someone's right to live without being harmed. The only time that harm would come into play is if self-defense has to come into play, because you always have the right to defend yourself. I feel like you have a moral obligation, honestly, to defend yourself, or innocent. So like children or elderly people that can't defend themselves, we have a moral obligation to defend them as well. So that's kind of, for me, natural law in a nutshell. And that in combination with just respecting and understanding our divine nature, that we are not just human beings, we are divine. We're spiritual beings in human form having this experience. So we have to look at everything through that spiritual lens first and understand again that we are eternal, because then you can look at all these problems from a macro level and have a totally different viewpoint of it, because well, if they end up killing me or harming me because I'm speaking out, or I'm going against the system, or I'm doing what's just simply what is right, can lead sometimes to so much harm in this world, in this control system. You will have so much more courage because you get it. Like, this is just one lifetime of many. I'm eternal. There's nothing they can really do to me for real, because what can you do to an eternal spirit? Nothing. Nothing for real. You could do something to this avatar, this body, but me, my spirit, my essence, there's nothing that they can do to me. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Positive,
That's
powerful.
elevator pitch.
I like that response. That was beautiful. Thank you. I know you're going to be infusing some of that good old natty law in your presentation for the Freedom Under Natural Law conference, and about 15 minutes left, so it'd be a good time for you to possibly give a little sneak peek, maybe not too many spoilers, if you will, but whatever you feel like sharing.
Absolutely. I have my little outline in front of me, and like I said, I was working on it right before this, so it because it encompasses so much. So, but basically, I want to define a lot of terms for people, and then just give people a lot of insight into the difference, like I said, between food access and food sovereignty, and how food sovereignty directly relates to freedom. Because what's that famous quote? Who controls the food controls the people. Tell me what revolution you're going to have. Tell me what changes you're going to make. Even if you're into the system still, who are you voting for? Tell me any of those things you can do if you don't have any food. Zero. Zero. So it is directly related to everything that we're doing. Food sovereignty. We have to have food, and it needs to be nutritious food, because if it's not nutritious, then once our health goes, you can't worry about the revolution or changing things if you're barely surviving, because your health has gone into such decline. So all these things are extremely related. So I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to get into the current state of farming agriculture globally and domestically. I'm going to be talking about synthetic foods, lab-grown foods, why those are being pushed, the impact they have on your health and your body. Also, how to begin growing food on your own if that's something that you're interested in doing. Food sovereignty, community building, and bringing it all home with that tie into natural law and tie into our freedom. Because like I said, there is no place to go if we don't have the basic needs like food met. If we can't meet those basic needs without government assistance, we're in real trouble. There's no separating ourselves from their control if we cannot feed ourselves. It's impossible.
Yeah, and like we think of things in terms of energy, right? And they want to control all these forms of energy.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really, it's like, it's so stacked up against us. And so, yeah, how can we little by little, step by step, take that power back and all this stuff? And it could be just within our own backyard, or even in our home if you don't have that, if you're in an apartment, whatever.
Yep.
Even just sourcing your food from proper, local, sustainable, farmers, right?
Yes. All of those are solutions. If you have an apartment and you have a little back balcony or patio that gets some sun, you can grow food there. I grow like peppers and stuff in my house in little hydroponic gardens all year round. There's ways to grow food inside, outside, that's pretty cost effective, not that difficult to do. You don't need a ton of space, especially if it's just you or like a small family or just a couple. You can grow, quite a bit of food just in a very small backyard garden or front yard garden or whatever. But it starts with us. It starts with each person taking personal responsibility for the choices that they make when it comes to food and who we're going to support and what kind of food we're going to support and what kind of research we're going to do, because it's we're being sold that all the synthetic stuff and lab stuff is so great. When you start looking into it, not so much. And I will be talking about that during the presentation.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And sorry, I lied. We only got like a minute left.
No worries.
So I guess, yeah, in a nutshell, what does it mean to you to kind of like really try to ignite that flame, that spark within one's soul when you like want to speak in public or, any kind of interaction with people and that kind of stuff? And not like it's got to be a crusade on a daily basis, right? Because, burn ourselves out or whatever, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, my definite passion, I've come to learn just recently, is definitely connecting with people. I mean, I love doing the podcast online, but connecting with people in person is just another level for me. So doing the workshops, I started doing like workshops, that I feel like is definitely something that I want to do much more of. I'd like to do more public speaking too. So I'm looking for a place where places or engagements where I can speak publicly about natural law, just to widen the audience, to learn about natural law, because like I said, it's the foundational piece for what we're building when we're building the new. So, and of course, my poetry, my creative expression is probably my favorite way of expressing myself and my passion and just my love for life in general.
Oh, yeah. And I hope you hit up some of them open mics if and when you can get a chance or whatever. But even if it's not your thing, having it displayed somewhere in public would be great. And your profound poetry would make a positive impact for many people. So
appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for your presence. Happy solstice out there, Cynthia, and everyone else listening. Sorry it's got to be so short, but c'est la vie. It's just an appetizer for the main course coming up in February. Yeah. So stay tuned, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yo, got a real strong message for y'all today. Listen.
Hello, greetings, bonjour, everyone. I got a special guest with us, Soul Xprsn, who is a man who is becoming more and more familiar. I've collaborated with you about 4 or 5 times, whether it be with Affirm Life Daily with Cynthia Mitchell or having you on Dissolving the Divide, having a cool interview with you in regards to your music, gearing up for the Sound Path to Freedom, which you were a featured artist in. And second conference coming up for you, brother, within a span of just 6 months or so. How you doing, bro?
Yeah. And I got not only invited for this conference, but I also got invited onto the One Great Work Network by Mr. Pasio himself. Felt like a legendary moment, I'm still not on the new platform since it switched off the old one. And I will get your help with that at some point, I know you got me.
Sure thing. Yeah.
I just, I'm just slow, but I am invited on, and I do have a lot of great content, in mind and coming soon onto that network, as well as some old but good content from my YouTube channel, which is just Soul Xprsn, as you see here.
Yeah, and you and your partner Tis have combined forces with Ufulu Child and other things, getting in the Thrive Zone, also collaborating with Cynthia, you three. It's phenomenal. I love the work y'all have been doing and stuff. You guys are quite an inspiration and stuff. And in general, I dig your presentation style. You seem to do it with ease. And you pop on Cynthia's stuff, you go over some notes, and just with a couple images, and it's like, wow, this guy's got it down, man. This is fucking tight. Like, where is he on the network? I was asking like a couple of years ago when I came about you. So yeah, man, I'm so happy that you're on the network and all that, and gonna be featured in this Freedom Under Natural Law conference. And yeah, before we get into what you might be dabbling into for your presentation, yeah, let the folks know, yeah, a little bit more.
Where to find me?
You're also an author. Chris
Mhm.
Jansen has your book. I saw that live at his house. Culture Control, for sure. Right on, soul.
Yeah. So this is the book, Culture Control: Why the Love of Money is Objectively the Root of All Evil, by yours truly, Soul Xprsn. I'm trying to get the glare. There we go. Culture Control is well, first of all, it's funny how time flies, right? Because it took more than 2 years to put the book together, and then another 6 months or so to get it proofed and edited, and all of that good stuff, formatted, etc. Which I did all of it myself. But time flies, because now that another maybe a year and a half or so has passed since I released the book, I've learned of one or two like mistakes in the book as far as like the historicity and stuff, because the internet has sped up finding out new information 100-fold, 300-fold. So, but yeah, the book, I go over various topics, including natural law concepts, from the alignment with the Hermetic principles to just the math of how many people know and live by objective right and wrong versus the results that we see in the world of how wrong we treat each other. We could stand to treat each other a lot better in general as a human family. All of the division points and where they originate from, as well as some of the facts from people like Lloyd Pye and Mark Passio's cosmic abandonment presentation, where he gets into the Zachariah Sitchin theories and all of that good stuff. I put that in the book because I wanted to, give my own spin on the research. I'm not as well read as those two characters, but I definitely do my thing as far as gathering my grammar before trying to understand it and put it out in my rhetoric. But yeah, man. So I'm an author. Culture Control is the name of the book. You can find that on wherever you get your books in ebook form, and you can find it on the Lulu. That's LULU bookstore, lulu.com bookstore, for the paperback. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm on Instagram as at Soul Xprsn, as well as me and my wife have a page. It's at Ufulu Child. That's UFULU child.com. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys in the virtual audience at the FUNL conference, Freedom Under Natural Law conference, because this thing is going to be very, very important in regard to bringing in not only information that's like fact-based, but also information that's truth-based, right? We can explore the truth using facts, but you never get the truth from facts. You get the truth from life when you understand facts. You get the truth from consciousness when you understand facts, when your consciousness can process facts correctly. That's when you get truth. And so facts are just a piece of truth. And in exploring the facts that will come into your consciousness, when you participate and listen to the speakers and whatnot at this funnel conference, you're going to get a dose of truth that's going to be inevitable. And not just from people like me, but everybody who's going to participate in speaking.
Yeah, well said. I love your well-rounded take on things, and the humbleness, and yeah, even my good friend, great friend, rather, Maria West. She wrote a book, like a decade ago, and she's had to revise it like 3 times because new information comes about, or revelations or things like, oh yeah, maybe it wasn't 100% accurate possibly, or, you know, whatever. And we'd like to fine tune these things, kind of just whether it be the material that we've produced over the years, or just, you know, what we have going on in our worldview and a philosophy of life and all that stuff. And how are we applying the science of life, which, yeah, that's a great key point of just, you know, there has to be that integration and life experience, not just, you know, going over it, the information. How are we processing it, running through the trivium and all those stuff that we'd like to emphasize at the dear old freedom under natural law community and whatnot. So yeah, brother, well said.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, I definitely want to release a second edition and just
already
just replace the thing that's in there that's just not true, and edit the thing that needs tweaking. You know, there's two to four, you know, little spots that need my attention. Not huge, you know, and even when it comes to history, like deep history, and this is what's likely what was happening behind the scenes kind of history, you're not going to get a primary source. They don't exist, right? A lot of the population was illiterate, depending on how far back you go. The ones that were literate likely were in the club, depending, you know, it depends. I'm not trying to just be accusatory and black-pilled, but a lot of the elite groups that did have writers and commissioned those writers to write things, you know, they were in the club. So you know, it's a fun topic to explore, but history can't just be trusted, you know, exactly how it's written, especially in like textbooks and things that are officialized by the governments of the world. We can't rely on history as much as we can rely on truth. You know what I'm saying? And when we put history together in a way that we feel truth is being understood, then when we focus on the truth, we can de-emphasize some of the historical backing, because the true is true regardless and always.
Yeah, and it's not about us, you know, bending the truth and this and that. We kind of have to bend to the truth and just get the objectiveness alignment, I suppose, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, I like the fact you guys cover a good amount of stuff. You yourself, you and your partner, and yeah, just going over conscious parenting, you know, mindfulness, well-being, you know, taking care of your body, going over the aspects of the, you know, the mental, physical, metaphysical, spiritual aspects of, you know, one's life and all that stuff.
Yeah. Food. And not from a new age movement perspective either. Not from a you know, think your problems away type of perspective either. But you know, like the truth behind meditation is something I'm quite researched on. And when I say truth, I mean the exploration of various meditation practices, as well as what most lay people are seeking when they turn to meditation. Right. Another thing that I'm quite well versed on is this concept of conformity and collective illusion and mass psychosis, and like just how our culture is controlled. Big interest point of mine. You know what I'm saying? And in this FUNL conference, I'm going to be talking a lot about how we can utilize things like shadow work, meditation, and spreading the gospel, which when I say gospel, of course, I mean the truth, not the biblical truth, but the truth, period, full stop. Which, you know, Mark refers to as the great work, is learning, understanding, and then spreading the truth. How we can use shadow work to really prepare ourselves internally to do the great work the right way. And I'm very excited because it'll be the first time that I bring some of the. Oh, thanks, bro. I just clicked back and saw you had my book up there.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, cop that. We're
Lulu.
running out. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, you bring up fear, and that's something that you were going to cover a little bit in your presentation. I like that approach and direction you kind of mentioned before the recording and this and that. And yeah, it's like kind of falls in line totally with how to overcome these fears, you know, how the conference is going to be. It's trying to inspire more of that, you know, inner fire of, you know, self-defense, and also the passion aspects of, you know, how are we living our lives, and are we living it to our fullest, and are we defending our rights in the process, and all these things, because, you know, we're in some pretty draconian times, whether digitally or physically or whatever, right? So yeah.
And, you know, just as a little super preview, because the fear of death is the most crippling aspect of our manipulation, you know, soup, if you will, the soup that we eat that leads to us being manipulated by the masons of society, right? The builders of society is what I meant by that. Shout out to the good masons of the world. We know some of y'all good. Anyway, the fear of death does a couple things inside the psyche, right? First of all, it reduces the concept of life to the life of the body, which is not true, right? If the concept of life was relegated only to the body, then bodies would be what is alive, instead of, you know, a soul within individual cells, you know, that in the individual cell can die, but the soul stays alive. It wouldn't be like that. The body itself would be what's alive, and your cells would be alive from the beginning to the end if life was reducible to the body, right? But the fear of death converts life into me inside my body. And that ultimately makes death the ultimate reality, not in real life, but to our brains. It puts death as the ultimate reality, which is just not true. It's so far from the truth, it's ridiculous. But what it does is it causes us to, you know, fear death, obviously, hate death, fight death, and become obsessed with avoiding death, become obsessed with avoiding this thing that we fear and that we hate and that we're fighting. And when, you know, one thing that I'll say, and I'm not going to give away the whole cookie jar, but one thing that I'll say is a population that is obsessed with avoiding death will accept slavery for protection from death. A population that understands death and prepares while living for their own death will never accept slavery as a means to protect oneself from death. And that is the crux, the main juice, you know, meaty portion of my presentation coming up for a little preview is understanding what that fear does, you know, and being able to walk away from my presentation in a way that you can reflect on your own behavior, see where the fear of death may be getting in the way of the truth as it's being revealed to you, and move forward accordingly.
That sounds great. And yeah, it sounds like you got some calls to action. And also you mentioned that you're going to have some questions for the audience at the end, which is fucking great, because it keeps these presentations fresh. You know, it's and that's why we love having, you know, all different types of presenters and coming in with their approach, their style, their aesthetics, and, you know, their, you know, magical voice box. You know, what are we evoking into, you know, reality? How are we trying to motivate and move minds and hearts towards, you know, natural law and things that, if we're living by that, we're not going to be in such dire straits in a trajectory that seems more transhumanistic and unrealistic and stuff. And yeah, like the fear of death makes people act unrealistic or irrationally way too often and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to your presentation. we only got a couple minutes left, and
Well, yeah. So a cool other thing that I'm doing in my presentation is I'm rapping because I'm a rapper and I got bars for days.
yes, indeed.
Me and the brother Derek have been chatting over the last couple days in regards to this preview interview. So I'll give you guys some bars for this preview interview, but I'm gonna be spitting something else during the actual presentation. It's gonna be just as good. But check it out. And I'm from Texas, by the way. So anybody in Texas that recognizes the street names that I'm getting ready to name, shout out to you. You know, big shout out. Headed towards 183, I merge with the lane. Get my mental notebook out and encourage the flame. Concurrently turning burning rubber on Ferguson Lane. It occurred to me my mental world was dirty and lame. Then I turned to God and learned with him I'm worthy, and surely it came, the moment of truth when the same circumstances had to test this new worthy version of this burdened new man. First turned conservative, like estimates on currency gained, and Instagram clips of Candace, Charlie Kirk, and the gang worked in my brain. And Thomas Sowell put a hurting on the words of my pain. It wasn't real, I was wrong, I was ashamed to admit it, but conservatives didn't get me to gain what I set out to gain, like a train off the grid, and I tracked truth beyond what was given. Whitney Webb wrote the truth about the flag on the plate, blew the whistle on their ass in a way, and Israel became a catalyst. Wait, Israel may try to drag us away to a place with real demons with no mask on their face, but I key blast them away and bask in the faith of a mustard seed, take the path and escape. The slave hive mind to see the cage clearly. Free range chickens still being maimed. Dear we the people, we are equal to the rulers. In fact, they just regular people who use computers to hack your thought patterns. The plasticity in your brain is a tool they can utilize to neutralize your mental plane and its fuel. They euthanize the youth with lies. If given tools to use your mind, they'll truly pry your soul from your body and make you AI. To euphemize the cruel demise, they'll call it medicine, and the proof is lies. Till the truth is lies, and you a lie, unless we stand up to the guys that do this wild shit. But what do I know?
Fuck yeah, yo. That was great.
Thanks little something for the people. Now, thank you so much for having me on, D. You already know it's much love to you and yours, and I'm looking forward to the conference. Again, y'all can catch me on Instagram, Soul Xprsn, or at Ufulu Child, and YouTube at Soul Xprsn.
Yes, where you are teaching quite a number of lessons, and yeah, you are, like, I don't like to say life coach, but you know, you do work with people and your community in real life too. It's not just, you know, what's online and social media and all that stuff. We use those to, you know, teach on the side or more directly. I mean, but yeah, I love the fact you're all over the place and just working your magic in multiple different facets and stuff. So yeah, you're multi-talented, brother. And yeah, always looking forward to what you got coming out of the old Conscious Kitchen, whatever you
right,
cook, you know?
Right. We in there cooking.
Oh yeah. Bon appetit, everyone out there. Soul, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. And talk to you later.
What remains is that little flame or spark, that fire in your heart. Take your mark and let's start.
I think voting is mind violence. Don't just hear, listen, and find meaning behind silence, 'cause my words walk a divine line, and when I told it, I thought you knew it. Truth precedes perception and conclusion. Foolish is the man who knows he's wise. Useless is the ungrounded. Stay rooted in truth, 'cause belief in government is mental illness. That's part addiction, part delusion. All deception, all collusion, all coercion, all inclusive. Everybody get a piece, government included. The system abuses the system and you. That's why my MP3 in. You turn to me to turn away from obedience to this matrix that keeps sheep sleeping. Here go a sleek sequence bridge to deep meanings. I forgive, but I learn too.
even when I got nobody to turn to. But if you too scared to serve hurt to the herd that hurts you and Erica Kirks you, don't stand in my way and don't say I ain't warned you. When everybody in the world is playing the victim, blaming and bitching, praying and wishing, school teachers struggling to get them to listen, how can we be the change that pay for the vision? Well, most people rather never attempt at changing anything that threaten what they treasure about themselves, about the hood they represent, for better or for worse. The shit is pressure. A desire tend to fester in the purest hearts. Yeah, we fighting temptation uphill in the purest dark. 'Cause if you roll it up, then it's sure to spark. And vices can feel like a cure in art. It's like a shrink. So I pray these lyrics make you think. When you hurting on the brink, insanity may creep, but my flow wash it off into the sink. I clean it up, cleanse it out, and send a link. Kings was the old way. But government is king now, and we still keep that old flavor. Yeah, we all tax paying, serfs, paying to live on an abundant earth. Make it make sense like money in the church. They make us make rent with disregard for our worth and blame us for sins of their thirst in reverse. Spirit, speak to those refusing the light. I'm in tune to get truth infused with the mic, so get loose. Jet fuel is juiced for the flight. No set groove, skate free, get bruised, learn to fight. Get teased, learn to master the future. Get good at reflecting on mistakes of the abusers. False prophecy users. Mind-controlled super troopers. Costumes don't grant rights to losers. Legal language don't create gods without an ego. It finesses the directors. Like counting cards at the casino, they remain deceptive with directives. Hush. I script in the infamy, feeling the lethargy. I'm connecting with divinity from the one to infinity. Heavenly amenities be hoarded by the enemies. Secrets of our chemistry, sea of synchronicity. Men and women get it, me be hating on my ministry. I break them up with entropy and kill them alchemically. Lyrical cellular reassembly, my lettering be menacing. A litany of written epiphany. I don't want to lessen the lessening like removing femininity from Trinity, so I'll get back to core messaging. Essentially, you hide your face behind your COVID mask, afraid to be exposed. There's evidence you met the inner portions of your soul and let it get corrupted for the fear of getting old, trying to kill your own reflection with the shadow from your clothes. But shadow work has made me see with greater clarity. The parody propaganda imposes on reality. The poser's word fallacies encrypted with malice streams of frequencies disrupting the balance. See the hypocrisies? Sorry, that ain't a word. I break too many rules sometimes for my own good. I guess just ain't scared of thinking outside the box, even if telling the truth elevate me beyond the crops, making me a target for the barrels of evildoers. But awakening in the matrix means bullets can cease to move if I see the code and compute it. Teaching, coaching the youth and create a million anomalous neos, poaching the booster. Loudspeakers, the views, the influence produced. I'm cleansing cultural abuse, living open and blooming a future we want to see into existence, because you and me is the key to the new beginning. Forgiveness. Thank you very much.
Don't you understand?